Hey, what's going on, everyone? Homework assignment 44. Today's objective, I can describe a proportional relationship using an equation. So yesterday we saw proportional relationships in tables, and we're able to identify if a relationship from a table of values is proportional or non-proportional. So a few things that I want to bring up to us. So one, the use of the dependent variable. It's usually denoted with the letter y. A dependent variable depend on independent variables. So there's a lot of relationships in life that we'll see where one quantity depends on another quantity. For example, I gave the example yesterday, you're working a job and you make $15 an hour. Two quantities that we have there are money and time. So the dependent variable in that case, if you're making $15 an hour, would be the money. Why is it the money dependent? Well, the amount of money you make depends on how much time goes by. Okay? The amount of money you make depends on how much time goes by. So the amount of money is dependent. It depends on something. Therefore, independent would be time. The independent variable would be time. It usually denoted with the letter X. Independent variables do not depend on anything. Time doesn't depend on anything. Time keeps going. We can't stop time. We can't go back in time. Time just keeps moving forward. We can't do anything to stop it. So time usually is independent of everything. The equation for proportional relationships, so the equations that we're going to be making today are going to look something like this, where y is our dependent variable, m is our constant of proportionality. I know, why don't we call it c? Because c is used for something else. But we're going to use m, and m is going to come up a lot next year and in a few years to come. So m is that constant of proportionality, which is that common ratio, and x is going to be the independent variable. All right. So in the example that I just gave, we would have the time, we would have the amount of money that you make, which is our dependent variable, is equal to how much money you make per hour times how many hours pass by. And that's where that equation comes from. So let's take a look at some examples. Our equations are not always going to use these variables, these exact letters, but they're going to still include the ideas. A dependent variable equal to the constant of proportionality times the independent variable. So let's take a look at our first example. A circle's circumference, all right, meaning the distance around the circle. So if we were to measure the distance around the circle, a circle's circumference is proportional to its diameter, and its diameter is this line that goes right across the middle. Use the figure to find the constant of proportionality, then write an equation relating the circumference of the circle to its diameter. What is the circumference of a circle with a 6-inch diameter? So there's a lot of parts. So part A, let's break it down into letter parts. So part A is saying, what is the constant of proportionality? All right, well, we said that the circumference is proportional to the diameter. So the circumference is proportional to the diameter. So the diameter, the circumference, depends on the diameter. So the circumference, I'll just write circ, depends on the diameter. All right. Dependent is always going to be in our numerator. Dependent variable, always in the numerator. Independent variable in our denominator. All right. So the circumference, which is 12.56, depends on our diameter, which is 4. So let's find what that constant of proportionality is going to be. 12.56 divided by 4, which is equal to 3.14. Okay. So if this is our equation, so we could identify, or if this is our constant of proportionality, we could now make an equation. So B, let's make an equation. And you know what? Let's use the letters y and x, all right? Y is our dependent variable. So y is going to be equal to the circumference. And x is our independent variable, and that's going to be equal to the diameter. All right? And we have our constant of proportionality, COP, which is equal to 3.14. So part B asked us to write an equation relating the circumference of a circle to its diameter. Well, then the equation would be y is equal to 3.14 times the diameter, which we're calling x. So that would be our equation. So now we can use this equation to solve a problem. Last part says, what is the circumference of a circle with a 6-inch diameter? Circumference of a circle with a 6-inch diameter. So here's what we're going to do. So y is equal to 3.14, and x is our diameter, so 3.14 times 6. All I'm doing is substituting x for 6, and let's find out. 6 times 3.14. So therefore, y equals 18.84, meaning the circumference of our circle with a 6-inch diameter will be 18.84 meters. All right, so everything that I did. First, I found the constant of proportionality. Then, we created an equation for a proportional relationship. Finally, we solved the problem with that equation. All right, let's see one more example. The cost of 2.5 pounds of meat is $7.20. Find the constant of proportionality. Write an equation relating cost to pounds. How much will 4 pounds cost? Okay, so let's find out what's going on here. So looks like we're doing cost to pounds. So we're trying to figure out how much a pound of meat is going to cost. So let's go with the first part. Let's find the constant of proportionality. So what is dependent on what? So the money, I'll put it right here. So money depends on the pounds. So how much you pay depends on how many pounds of meat you buy. All right, so that's going to be 7.20 over 2 1/2. Just because I can hear the numbers are nice that I can do it like this, I'm going to convert my 2.5 to 2.5 because I know how to convert my decimals. So 2.5. And let's find out what that constant of proportionality is. 7.20 divided by 2.5 is 2.88. So, all right, so there's my constant of proportionality. B. Write an equation relating cost to pounds. Okay, so our equation involves y, m, and x. So y is our dependent variable, and y is the money. X is our independent variable, and that was the pounds. And m is our constant of proportionality. I think I wrote COP in the last one. I did. I should have just written m. M in this case is going to be 2.88. So we know an actual value for m. So let's go ahead and write the equation. Y is equal to 2.88x. All right, there's our equation. Now let's use the equation to solve a problem. All right. So we have our equation. Y is equal to 2.88x. How much will 4 pounds cost? So let's fill that in. So y is equal to 2.88 times 4. All right, 2.88 times 4. So y is going to be equal to $11.52, meaning that 4 pounds of meat are going to cost $11.52. All right. Before I do end this, I am going to take it back to this page, and instead of writing constant proportionality, let's go ahead and write it using its letter variable, which is m. So you can make that change. You can just make a note on the side about it. But there you go. There's our examples, and that's what we're going to work with. This is our first really example of linear relationships or identifying linear relationships, and we're going to continue to use this going forward. It's going to come up a lot. Next year, we will expand upon this and get a little bit more advanced with it. Actually, we'll do it a little bit this year, but more so next year. All right, there it is. Get to those practice problems. I'll see you tomorrow.